Education must not simply teach work, it must teach life. One can only imagine that these words flew through the minds of great thinkers like John Leach, Alec Peterson, and Kurt Hahn in 1962 at the International Schools Conference of Teachers, when the term International Baccalaureate was first coined, and 6 years later in Geneva, when the IBO was officially formed. Receiving the IB Diploma is a huge undertaking that requires students to not only test their limits in academia, but develop through service, physical activity, exploration of the arts, and embrace learning as a lifelong commitment. IB's academic program consists of 6 subject groups: studies in language and literature, language acquisition, individuals and societies, sciences, mathematics, and the arts. 5 of which are compulsory, where should art be a subject not chosen, the student is able to double up in another group. Furthermore, IB students are required to meet the fulfillments of the IB core to receive the diploma, meaning they need to complete a 4,000-word research paper known as the extended essay, engage in activities that enrich their creativity, physical ability, and need to serve as well as take on a 7th course, Theory of Knowledge. With this in mind, the completion of the full diploma can sometimes be a grueling pursuit, but we wanted to uncover what it really means to take the IB head-on. To find out, we explored what it really means to be an IB student. Everyone here is currently taking on the full diploma, which means they have to take a minimum of 3 HLs and the rest of their subjects at SL.
What courses do you take?
SL French, HL Physics, HL Chemistry, HL Language and Literature, SL Math, as well as SL Economics, yes, and Theory of Knowledge.
However, some of them have seemingly taken on 4 subjects at the higher level for an extra challenge. A lot of the students end up doing courses just because they feel it's more flexible for them, giving them the chance to reach for their personal goals without adding the stress of full DP.
My name is Frank Hart.
Brittany Durant.
Christian Haddad.
Robin Husam.
And I do IB courses.
Whether doing the full IB or courses, all of the interviews had their very own view on the intensity of the workload.
How are you finding the IB course for you so far?
It's very, very challenging. There's a lot of work to do.
There's like a lot of things to do and a lot of things to get covered.
It's a lot of work, yes, but like I feel like it's manageable. Like the content isn't that hard, but like it's just like the volume of work is like a lot.
Fine.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I think the whole thing has kind of been exaggerated. I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it seem.
Some of the challenges they face really come down to subject selection. Some may do 2 individuals in sciences, others a double science, and the rest art.
I guess some like professions and like universities that help you for those professions. I'm doing physics and chem. Some things they would want you to do a double science. Yeah.
Well, you see, the thing is, like, I'm not sure what I really want to major in. So, like, I'm doing econ because what I want. I know I really want to go into business, but like the chem and physics, like I genuinely like chem and physics, and like there are more opportunities like engineering or biochemical engineering and all that. And also for universities, I think that you need 2 HL science subjects to get into some science programs. So I'm just like covering all my edges.
I don't think there's any advantage to doing a double science. If it's what you want to do, then I guess that's an advantage, but if you have no purpose of doing a double science, don't stress yourself with it.
Regarding the arts,
Well, it really and truly depends on what you want to do when you grow up and the type of person that you are. For example, I'm a creative person and I want to go into design or architecture. It really just depends on the person. I can't say what specifically.
For you, it's good that you do courses in arts because it works for you.
It works for me, yeah.
Okay.
Now, doing an arts has really helped me because in the day-to-day busyness of all my classes and all the seriousness of all my classes, getting to be in a class that I'm doing what I love pretty much 100% of the time, it helps me feel like I'm not just at school. Visual art, dance, music, theater, any of those things, if you You don't have to be thinking long term, like, oh, am I going to do this in college? Just think about your IB experience. Do you want to have that daily break of doing something that you're really passionate about? So that's just one more skill that you get at the end of your IB, is getting to do 2 more years of a higher level of that art.
The IB core.
Make sure you pick something that you know what you're doing. Like, don't just pick an interesting subject because it sounds interesting but you have no idea what you're doing. Doing something that you want to do is good, but don't pick something that don't be blinded by doing something that you want to do when that thing you want to do is something you can actually make into an EE. Focus more on something that is practical than something that you want to do. Oof, Cass, don't do what I did, because I kind of like, you see like, oh, we're having this beach cleanup on Saturday and then this fun run on Sunday, and like, you might see that stuff and be like, oh, whatever, I'll do Cass later. But then, you get to a semester done and it's like, oh, you have 1 million Cass hours you have to do. So like, make sure you take those opportunities, like just, spend your Saturday cleaning up a beach or something. Think of Cass as something you have to do, not something you want to do.
I think it is essential for people to know coming into grade 11 that the IB Diploma Program is a commitment, and you have to be aware that sacrifices have to be made, whether regarding social life or extra after school activities, etc.
There's 3 different stages to IB. 1 is just not doing IB at all. You can just do the high school courses. 2, you can do a couple IB courses but not the full diploma. Or 3, which is what I did, was the full diploma. I personally, from what I learned, I suggest you can just take IB courses. The main purpose of IB at the end of the day is to help prepare us for college and give us an idea of what the college work would be like.
I think it's definitely the time management aspect of IB. It is rigorous. It is it does push our limits and kind of force us to grow. But if you kind of keep up to date with it, you'll feel like you can manage it. But it's so difficult to do that, when you have so many things that are pulling at you.
Even though they may not be the ones sitting the exams or writing the EE, the teachers offer great insight into how to best handle getting through IB.
Take a deep breath. It's gonna be okay. It's better to have it complete. In other words, I think a lot of IB students tend to linger with assignments longer than they need to. I think it's important to just remain focused, get the job done, submit, and move on. Because if you allow yourself to let the assignments accumulate, you're going to find yourself in a hole that then you can't dig yourself out of. So that would be my biggest advice. Wouldn't it be great if we could really think about what it is we want to accomplish perhaps post-IB years? The most interesting people I know don't know what they want to do with their lives at 16. So I don't expect you to know what you want to do with your life, but just kind of have an idea of where you want to take this, right? So that you can begin to chart a path for what you want to accomplish. So the first thing I ask the 10th graders is really to do a lot of introspection and a lot of reflection. What is it you want to accomplish? What am I really interested in? What am I really passionate about? Where am I willing to spend the time? Okay, so that's the first thing. And secondly is to use their summers effectively, right? If you maybe there is some summer reading that you can do, certainly some internships. That summer between grade 11 and grade 12 is a critical summer, because during that summer you can get a lot accomplished to prepare for the IB.
To try to understand things conceptually, from a deeper understanding standpoint, by using their imagination and by bringing in aspects of different subjects. In physics, we have to understand math and use math, but apply it in a physics situation. So sometimes it's crossing over and combining subjects together.
Make sure that you have a timetable that organizes the amount of time that you are going to dedicate to your work, that you're going to dedicate to your CAS activities. It's very, very important that you organize your time well and make sure that you have scheduled your projects, your longer essays that you have to work on. Make sure that you give adequate time to these. CAS is really focusing on holistic development of our students, and it is the most dynamic part of the IB program. We want you to also look at how you can make a significant impact in this world. We want you to focus on what activity you need to do to keep healthy, and we also want you to focus on the creative side. Go in with the attitude that you want to make a contribution, that you want to help improve the environment. Go with the attitude that you want to make a difference. And also doing CAS is combine the strands that are available, and in doing so, you can try to make a better world.
So how hard will it actually be to move up in grade 11? Generally, the school system seems to do a decent job at introducing IB, but there are still some aspects that can't be adjusted for grade 10.
I've only been here for 8 months, but from what I've seen since I've been here is it's a pretty steep learning curve. How do we get students in 9 and 10 acclimated to what they're expected to do in grade 11 and 12? And it's hard because cognitively speaking, a 13 and 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid is just not ready conceptually and academically and in the way that their brains work for abstract thinking for what the demands are at 11 and 12. So it's a challenge. It's a matter of work ethic and getting kids a bit more prepared for the amount of work and amount of time management that is expected at IB.
We've smoothed it significantly over the past few years to better help with that transition. But it's almost impossible to prepare everyone in grade 10 for the big jump that they're going to take going into grade 11.
I think you probably should ask the students that more than me. From where I sit, looking at the units of instruction, which is what I do, the rubrics are designed so to work backwards from the IB Diploma. So the idea is that when you're in 10th grade, you're already being assessed on some of the aspects of the IB curriculum. So it's a preparation for IB. But I have heard from a bunch of students that the assessments aren't actually the same, right? So that they do feel the jump that is greater. But I wonder, and this is a question and not an answer, I wonder if that has to do with the time limitations of IB. Because what I realize about IB students is that full diploma students seem to be pretty comfortable in the first semester of grade 11. You know, they're keeping up with their work and they're meeting their deadlines for the most part. And then the second semester of grade 11, it becomes a little more difficult. Why? Well, you have the college application process kind of really beginning, and you also have internal assessments, kind of coming up, right? So then that's when the time management component really kicks in, and that's when students begin to get frustrated. The third semester of IB, which is the first semester of grade 12, of course, is the hottest one, because that's when everything is actually due. I mean everything. Your extended essays, so it's really, to me, it goes back to the issue of managing your time well. By the time you get to the fourth semester and all internal assessments are in, and you can see that in the current grade 12, you see a relief, right? It's in, and now they can focus on studying, right? On really the last units of instruction to kind of finish the course and do well in their exams.
Though all the teachers here genuinely want us to do well, that doesn't necessarily mean they think the full diploma is for all of us. Though we may set out to do the full diploma, in some cases the teachers know us better than we know ourselves, and may end up advising some of us to take a step back.
Yeah, I have. And even though I think it's absolutely the best option, I also think that some students are not prepared to put in the work that it takes, And if you're not prepared to do it for whatever reason, whether it's a personal reason, whether it's a lack of readiness, I don't know what I want to do with my life and I still am exploring, whatever it is, if you're not ready to put in the work and the dedication that it takes, maybe it's not for you right now, and as I said, I think that would be a shame, because I think it's something that everyone should experience. And once you're out of high school, you don't experience it in the same way. So it is a shame, but it is not for everybody.
Oh yeah, of course, that's my job. I'm instructed by IB to encourage students to do the full diploma. They want kids to graduate and see that the world needs help, that you need to make the world a better place, and that you have the skill set to do that. The idea too is that once we expose the student to the IB, if it's obvious that they don't have the skill set and they become unhappy at school, it just robs them and destroys them. When I see that in students, then that's the first thing I do is, okay, let's take the excited essay away, let's take the TOK away, let's reduce the higher level requirement of 3, we can drop down to standard level, lighten load, and then let's see how you do. Let's try the courses. And if that becomes too much, then you have the high school option. So at the end of the day, we want kids who are happy and healthy and want to learn. And a lot of times some students can't do that in IB. They can't handle it.
Nothing. You can sue me and think fall out with it.
Oh no.